5 Negotiation Tricks That Make People Say Yes, Part 1. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you agree to terms you didn't actually like at first? Or you end up buying something more expensive than you planned, even though you just came to look? The interesting part is that most of the time, this doesn't happen by accident. Your decision is being guided, gently, quietly, and very effectively. Every single day, you're involved in negotiations, even if you don't realize it. When you discuss your salary, negotiate the price of a car, agree on a repair cost, or even decide where to eat with friends. And here's what makes it fascinating. There are psychological techniques that can shape the outcome of a negotiation before you even say your first word. Some of these techniques are so simple that they almost sound too basic to matter. But they are used constantly in business, sales, politics, and everyday life. Today, we're going to explore the first 5 powerful negotiation techniques that work even when you know they're being used. And in Part 2, we'll cover 5 more strategies that can completely change how you negotiate. The sooner you start recognizing these techniques, the harder it becomes for anyone to influence you without you noticing. 1. Anchoring. The first number changes everything. Imagine this situation. You walk into a job interview. You feel confident about your experience, and you already have a salary range in mind. Then the employer says the first number, 60,000. Suddenly, everything shifts. Even if you were hoping for 80,000, now 65 sounds reasonable, and 55 feels low. Your expectations quietly moved. This is called anchoring. The first number introduced in a conversation becomes the reference point. Even when it makes no logical sense, your brain automatically compares everything else to it. Psychologists tested this in a fascinating experiment. Participants were shown a random number completely unrelated to the question. Then they were asked to estimate something, like the percentage of countries in Africa that are part of the United Nations. People who saw higher numbers gave higher estimates. Those who saw lower numbers gave lower answers. Even random numbers influence decisions. That's why experienced negotiators often try to name the first number. If you're selling something, it can help to start slightly higher than your expected price. If you're buying, you might start slightly lower. The key is staying believable. If your number sounds unrealistic, you lose credibility. But when you confidently introduce a reasonable anchor, you shape the boundaries of the entire conversation. Even when the other side pushes back, they're still negotiating inside the world you created. 2. Mirroring. A simple way to make people talk more. This technique sounds almost too simple. You repeat the last few words someone just said as a question. For example, someone says, "I can't go lower than $500. You respond, "Lower than 500? Something interesting happens. They start explaining. They justify their price. They reveal details. They give you information you didn't even ask for. Sometimes they even lower the price themselves. This is called mirroring. It works because people want to feel understood. When they hear their own words repeated, their brain automatically tries to clarify. And the more they talk, the more they reveal. This makes mirroring extremely powerful in negotiations. You're not arguing. You're not pushing back. You're not revealing your position. You're simply encouraging them to talk. And while they talk, you learn exactly where their limits really are. 3. Tactical silence. When saying nothing becomes powerful. After someone makes an offer, most people respond immediately. They agree, disagree, or counter. But experienced negotiators often do the opposite. They stay silent. Just a few seconds of silence creates tension. People naturally feel uncomfortable with pauses in conversation. That silence makes the other person nervous. They start wondering if their offer wasn't good enough. And sometimes, they begin adjusting it themselves. They might say, "Well, I could lower the price a bit," or offer additional benefits. You didn't say anything. You simply allowed silence to do the work. This is especially effective in business negotiations. A pause shows that you're thinking carefully and not rushing into a decision. And often, the person who speaks first after an offer ends up in a weaker position. If you're enjoying these psychological techniques, Consider subscribing and leaving a like. In part 2, we'll cover even more powerful strategies that experienced negotiators use every day. 4. The flinch, a small reaction that creates doubt. Sometimes your reaction says more than your words. When you hear a price, you show a slight reaction of surprise. You lean back slightly, raise your eyebrows, pause for a moment. Without saying anything, the other person starts doubting their number. They wonder if they asked for too much. They begin explaining or softening their position. This is known as the flinch. It works because people are often unsure about their offers. They watch your reaction carefully. If you accept too quickly, they assume they could have asked for more. But if you show surprise, they start adjusting. The key is authenticity. If the reaction looks fake, it won't work. But a natural response can shift the entire conversation. 5. Good cop, bad cop. You've probably seen this in movies. One person is tough and inflexible. The other seems friendly and understanding. After dealing with the tough negotiator, the friendly one feels like a relief. You begin trusting them. And when they ask for concessions, you're more likely to agree. But both are working toward the same goal. This technique is also common in sales. For example, a salesperson tells you they want to offer a better price, but need approval from their manager. They return with a slightly improved offer, acting like they fought for you. You feel grateful, and you agree, even though the entire scenario was planned. Psychology plays a role in almost every negotiation. In business, in purchases, in everyday conversations. And the most interesting part is that these techniques are often used so subtly that you may not even realize you're negotiating. Today, you learned the first 5 techniques that can influence the outcome of a conversation. But this is only half of the story. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And let me know in the comments, which of these techniques have you seen in real life? Part 2 is coming soon, and it gets even more interesting.